Do you want to improve your media skills? I don't mean just say that you want to improve your media skills. Actually improve them. Because there's a very simple tip that very few people do. And that is to watch every single media interview you do, or to listen to it if it's radio, or really read carefully if it is some kind of a text interview, and analyze it. Analyze the strengths and the weaknesses. I have found that even people who spend a lot of time rehearsing interviews, prepping in advance, the interview comes out and they don't even look at it. Or they look at it for 2 seconds, I didn't like my tie that day. Too superficial. You need to really watch any TV interview you do, grade yourself, figure out exactly what did you do well. If it's an edited interview and the soundbite was the one you planned, give yourself credit. Make notes. This works. I planned that. I got it. It worked. That is 100% excellent. If they pulled different sound bites than ones you planned, ask yourself, what soundbite elements did you accidentally use? Did you stumble into a cliche? Did you stumble into something action-oriented? Did you accidentally attack yourself and therefore get quoted off message? Constantly assess what you're doing if you want to get better. Great writers work with great editors. They get feedback on how to improve. If you want to be great with the media, you've got to get feedback. Often your own feedback is the best. So please watch every interview that you do and figure out what worked, what didn't, and how to improve. Folks, those of you who have been with me from the beginning of this podcast series, I want to thank you. It's now been 1 year. This is the 52nd episode, weekly episode of the Media Training Weekly Tips. If you have questions, suggestions, I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions over at my flagship podcast, Speaking with TJ Walker. That's the long-form show where we answer any of your questions about not only media training, public speaking, crisis communications, and we answer your question in very, very in-depth detail. So feel free to send me an email, tj@mediatrainingworldwide.com, or on Twitter @TJ Walker. Hope you've gotten something out of this. By the way, since you've been with me, some of you from the beginning, take you behind the scenes. Some of you have been listening for just a few minutes for a year. I produced this entire year in 1 day. Now, I don't say that to brag, but I did it all at once. It is July 4th week of 2016 when I'm doing it, and it's frankly a slow week. I don't have trainings going on. The phone isn't ringing much. I still had time to go for a swim in the morning, to a picnic with my daughter at lunchtime and wife, and still have fun today, but it was an opportunity to produce 52 segments in 1 day. Now, I'm able to do this because I do them all in one take. Maybe there were a couple where I messed up the first 10 seconds, just hit delete and started over. Again, I say this not to brag. It's not hard. It's just talking about stuff that I talk about all day long. So I bring this up because I want you to think about doing your own podcast. If I can do a year's worth of podcast in 1 day while still doing, sending out newsletters, tending to other things, what's keeping you from doing your own podcast or your own video series on YouTube? It really isn't that time consuming once you've picked your niche, picked your format, and decided to just do it. I'm TJ Walker. Thanks for joining me.